Another tough day at the office for world number 2 Andy Murray at the French Open. Details coming up with Robin. The US State Department's watchdog has found Hillary Clinton violated guidelines by using a personal email server while she was Secretary of State. Throughout the presidential election campaign, her opponents have called her untrustworthy. Shihab Ratansi has more.
From the moment she was sworn in as Secretary of State, it appears Hillary Clinton was determined to protect her privacy even when doing business. Almost every email she sent and received went to a private server, not a government one. This is unprecedented. Even the State Department says it was taken by surprise.
While people were aware of her use of personal email, no one had a full and complete understanding of to the extent.
Clinton did not ask for permission. The Inspector General says it wouldn't have been given anyway, not just because of the security risks, but because of the need to preserve an official record. Without one, there can be no official accountability. In 2010, when US State Department officials expressed their concerns, one of her aides claimed that Clinton had received legal clearance for using a personal server. There is no evidence that was true. Not only that, the report revealed that Clinton and her aides refused to cooperate with the investigation. Even some of her main backers are expressing their discomfort.
And they're going to have to do a better job, I think, frankly, at convincing the American public that what happened here was above board and straightforward, as opposed to how it looks today.
But so far, the Clinton campaign is sticking to its position that even though the investigation was led by the Inspector General of the State Department, who was appointed by President Obama, the whole issue is part of a hit job by her opponents. Throughout this election campaign, Hillary Clinton has struggled to convince voters that she's trustworthy. Her official emails as Secretary of State have contributed to that sense of unease, and not just because she had a personal email server. Hours after the report's findings were released on a campaign stop in California, Clinton addressed her supporters but not the controversy. The presumptive Republican nominee Donald Trump, however, made the most of it.
She's as crooked as they come. She had a little bad news today, as you know, from some reports came down weren't so good, but not so good. The Inspector General's report, not good.
And it's not over. Clinton is the subject of an FBI investigation, and there's even the possibility she may have to testify in a court case examining her use of a personal email server. Shihab Ratansi, Al Jazeera, Washington.
Well, for more on this, we're joined by Dr. Jason Johnson, Professor of Political Science and Communication at Hiram College. He's joining us live from Baltimore. Dr. Johnson, always good to have you with us on Al Jazeera. So we'll get to the possible ramifications in just a moment. But first, I want to ask you, why do you think Hillary Clinton did this? We know that other Secretary of States have used their personal email in the past, but not exclusively, almost exclusively like she did.
Well, because basically Hillary Clinton is paranoid. And after the years that she spent as First Lady in the White House with Bill Clinton and being subjected to the investigation that they were subjected to by Ken Starr, she wanted to make sure that there was no way that personal or quasi-personal communications of hers got mixed up with professional ones. The problem is that when you're a public official, everything you do should be a part of the public record. That's how she got into this situation to begin with.
And what price do you think she's going to pay for this? How damaging do you think this report is going to be to her campaign?
Oh, I don't think it's going to be damaging at all. And the reason why is because no one in America is going to have their opinion changed by an additional lie by anyone in the Clinton campaign. Most Americans have made it very clear. Poll after poll after poll shows Americans do not think Hillary Clinton is trustworthy. Even amongst Democrats, only about 50% of Democrats think that she's trustworthy. But you're never running in a vacuum. She's running against Donald Trump, whose record of dishonesty and lying is worse than hers. So I don't think this has any real long-term consequences. It may encourage Bernie Sanders, but he's still not going to beat her.
Okay, you just mentioned, Trump's record there. He will no doubt, he's already used this against Clinton. I want to ask you, do you think that Bernie Sanders is wishing right now that he hadn't said early on in the primaries that, he was sick of hearing about these emails?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things Bernie Sanders regrets. I think he regrets not attacking Hillary Clinton on emails. I think he regrets not being more aggressive about speeches that she gave for private corporations. I think he regrets not doing a better job of campaigning to women and African Americans and Latinos. This is going to be another example of an opposition attack that was missed on Hillary Clinton. Donald Trump will try and make the most of it, but again, he doesn't have the credibility to call her credibility into question. So unfortunately, that just speaks into a larger sense of Americans being dissatisfied with anyone running for president this year.
Okay, Trump is doing pretty well, though, at the moment. You know, he's leading Clinton for the first time in polls to be the president. Sanders is beating Trump in the same poll. So overall, this might not affect Clinton's support for Clinton, but it's not a good week for her, is it?
It's not a good week, but we have to be fair. First and foremost, any polls that are being taken this far out are not a real indicator as to how the election is going to work. At this point in 2012, Mitt Romney was winning. You had several other candidates winning. We really can't say who's in the lead until after most of the campaigns get to the conventions. But here's the other issue. It doesn't really matter if Hillary Clinton is 1 point behind or 2 points behind Donald Trump when it comes to the overall popular vote poll. Trump is losing right now in statewide polls, which means he's not going to win the Electoral College. So it's a bad week, but we've got 80 more weeks or so before we get to the presidential election. I think this is just going to be a blip on the screen.
All right. Dr. Jason Johnson, Professor of Political Science and Communication at Hiram College. Thank you, as always, for your time. Now, there's been a tense standoff outside the latest rally for U.S. Republican presidential hopeful Donald Trump. The event was taking place in Anaheim, California, where there was a heavy police presence. Protesters squared off with his supporters. There were some skirmishes and a few arrests. To Zimbabwe now, where tens of thousands of supporters of President Robert Mugabe have rallied in a show of unity in the capital, Harare. Mugabe addressed his supporters, calling some within his ruling ZANU-PF party treasonous for squabbling over who should succeed him as leader. The 92-year-old has denied reports he has prostate cancer and says he'll live past 100. But his critics say he's ruined the economy since becoming leader in 1980. Well, Takura Jangaja is a Zimbabwean blogger and actor.